Are you ready for the geeks to inherit the earth? Well, whether you are or not, it is happening right now on the Geek Report. You're going to want to watch it, and you know why? Because everyone is a geek about something. Welcome to the Geek Report. I am your host, Stephen Human, and this is exciting. Is everybody excited? Yeah! I'm excited. This is the first episode of the Geek Report. This is a show for geeks on everything geek. Comic books, movies, video games, action figures, whatever it is we want to throw on here. If you like it, or if you think you're a geek, you're going to find something you're going to like on this show. And this is our first episode. You're coming in on the ground floor. Congratulations. So you'll be able to look in the years to come and say, wow, I watched the first episode of Geek Report before Stephen Human became president of the United States. Because that's going to happen, because I'm so into politics as a geek. Well, what this show is about is basically we have the news of the geeks. We talk about different interviews with people. So we interview people from the industry, whether it's comic books or movies, all of that stuff. And we have stories that will get you more interested in other aspects of geek culture. So right now we're going to start with the news. We're going to start with the Week in Geek. Our top story is actually from Archie Comics. Surprisingly enough, they are killing off Archie, the perennial teenager, Archie Andrews with the red hair, who's been around since 1941. They're killing him off. I am serious. He's going to die. Basically, you have this comic book called Life with Archie, where he's an adult, and in half of it, it's what would have happened if he'd married Betty, and the other half is if he had married Veronica. And it's basically two alternate timelines moving simultaneously. Well, in issue 36, which comes out in July, they're saying he is going to get killed in both timelines in the exact same way. And that it's not a comic book death. He's actually going to die. So Archie's going to die, folks. Can you believe that? Yeah, they're killing him off. All right, we'll have to wait and see how that all turns out. Well, in movie news, Warner Brothers announced this week that the Man of Steel sequel, which is slated to come out on May 6th, 2016, the same day, mind you, that Captain America 3 is coming out, they announced that they are not moving, that they are coming out on that date. Marvel has also said they are not moving. So get ready for the biggest superhero showdown ever. Who's excited for that? Yeah, because we're going to get to see Superman beat the crap out of Captain America on May 6th, 2016. It's going to happen, folks. All right, well, with Captain America being the #1 movie in America, was there any doubt? No. There shouldn't be, because it was awesome. It was a great movie. It is the #1 movie, and because of that success, as of Thursday, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so the movies from Iron Man up to Captain America the Winter Soldier, are now the most successful movie franchise in history. They beat out Harry Potter, so good for you, Marvel. Well, in other movie news, Star Wars Episode 7. Who's excited for Star Wars Episode 7? Coming out next December. That is going to be awesome. Well, they've had some casting news, basically that R2-D2 and Chewbacca are in the movie. That's the only thing they've confirmed. But they have confirmed this week that they're going to be filming in Tatooine. They're going to be filming at the original set in Morocco. So that's going to be really cool, because there's a lot of nostalgia, with this movie, and the fact that they're filming there is really cool. Well, they did have one little tidbit of casting news. Deadline reported that they're actually casting Obi-Wan Kenobi's daughter or granddaughter. And the person in the running is Maisie Richardson-Sellers. She's a British newcomer, hasn't been in anything. So, looks to me like Obi-Wan Kenobi was slicing up more than clone troopers with his lightsaber during those last movies. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Lonely Jedi. I get it. Well, the Fantastic Four reboot that is currently in production found their Doctor Doom in Toby Cabell. And I have no idea who this guy is. Apparently he was in one of the Prince of Persia movies or something along those lines. But I have a more important question. Does anybody even care about this movie? No. Anyone in the audience? No? That does not bode well for the Fantastic Four reboot right there, because I don't really care either. But they have their Doctor Doom. We'll see if it's going to be any good. Now, we're going to move on to tech news. Facebook just bought Oculus Rift for $2 billion.
Huge.
Now, Oculus is a virtual reality company, and the Rift is their VR helmet. And here with me is our tech reporter, Drew, who's going to tell us how this is going to change the world and why we should care.
It's a big deal, right? $2 billion. So this is what you got to know about it. We all know Facebook. It's a place where you poke people, you play Candy Crush, and you can stalk your ex-girlfriends, right?
That's
what it's
why
all about,
I am
right?
on Facebook,
yes, right? That's what,
for
exactly,
those three things.
Exactly. So Facebook shells out $2 billion for the Oculus Rift, which is this VR helmet. And I love the idea of VR. I mean, I still remember back in the day, I used to ask my parents for $5. I'd beg them to give me $5 to try on a VR helmet for 5 minutes. And I got sick. Real sick. Motion sickness was horrible. Never did that again. So then, you know, the idea of VR, 2 decades ago that happens. It's not new, it's been around forever, but it's always been expensive. Tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to build your own little set. If you have a couple of dollars, you can build one, like I did here.
I like that, yeah, that's nice.
So something like that.
$2 billion virtual reality helmet.
The resolution's a little lower.
Anybody in the audience want one of these?
Right?
Yeah. We will hook you up after.
Yes.
$2 billion, right here.
The resolution's a little different on this one, but really, what happened though with the Rift was that they were able to produce the same thing for hundreds of dollars. So that's what's changed. First of all, it makes total sense that a social media company would pick up Oculus Rift, because what's more social than sticking your face in a box that's dark and alone? But still, I think that they should. Thanks for that. So I think.
I'll laugh for you.
Thank you. Really, I mean, this is about as social as it gets. Hi, everybody. Can you see me? Oh, I can see you. And if I look around here, I can see your friends. Right? It's strange to me. So I think that what I'd really like for the Oculus Rift and Facebook to do is that I should be able to equip myself. Right? I should be able to equip a gun, a bow and arrow, a lightsaber, or something, so that when somebody starts sending me game invites, I have something to defend myself with, right?
Oh, so instead of just saying no, you pull out a virtual reality lightsaber and you're actually
right? Then I could.
I would pay money. That's an app I'd buy.
I'm hoping. I'm just praying that they have a little extra money left over, that they can pick up somebody like James Cameron to write, direct, and produce a 3D version of Flappy Bird. If they could do that,
then you would quit your job.
I wouldn't need a job. I would just.
You would just play it all the time.
That's it. And that is what I think they should do with the Oculus Rift.
All right. Thank you, Drew, for that insight into why Facebook has Oculus Rift. We love it. All right, we got to move on with our tech news. Just this week, the Navy christened the USS Zumwalt, which is their newest battleship. Now, this thing is pretty cool looking, as you can see, but right now it has a regular arsenal, but it is built to have laser cannons, literal, real-life laser cannons, mounted to the front end. So when this thing goes into battle, it will be shooting out lasers. I just thought that was really cool. I thought it was awesome. And if they'd named it the Galactica, it would have been even awesomer. And that is the Week in Geek, everybody. So we are going to take a commercial break real quick. When we come back, we are going to talk to Dan Farr from Salt Lake Comic-Con and find out about the Fan Expo that is taking place next week. Keep it here on the Geek Report.
Dr. Volt's Comics is a full-service comic book shop. We've been here for 24 years now. We offer pretty much everything that you could ever want as a geek, starting with a free hold service. But it allows you to have anything pulled aside for you, and then you don't have to worry about missing anything. I love that there's just such a wide range of stories and art and ideas that no matter what mood you're in or what you're looking for, there's always something to find. Come on down to Dr. Volt's. We will treat you like friends and family and help you as best we can.
Owning a home is one of the biggest investments you can make. Rates are at historic lows, and now could be the right time to think about buying a home to call your own. Shauna Judd, with full-service mortgage lender Axiom Financial, will help you by providing a wide variety of loan products to meet your needs. Come in and meet with Shauna, and she'll get you pre-qualified in 10 minutes. Mortgage specialist Shauna Judd. Call her at 801-604-2227 or email at shauna@axiomfinancial.com.
At CU Auto Sales, we realize that you have lots of choices when purchasing a vehicle, and our desire is to ensure you have the best experience with us. We consider customer satisfaction to be our highest priority. Throughout each of our departments, the emphasis is always on putting our customers' needs first. Find exactly the car you're looking for and take advantage of our Greenlight funding and get approved today. CU Auto Sales, 4144 South State Street, cuautosales.com.
Is it time for you to get your own place? At Exit Realty Plus, we can help you do just that. We have 25 agents ready to help you at a moment's notice. We're a small office with a lot of experience, and we're here to help you open the door to your new home. We're at 948 East North Union Avenue in Midvale. Call us at 801-506-3110. Exit Realty Plus, helping you find the home of your dreams.
Welcome back to the Geek Report, everybody. This is the show about everything geek, and what is more geeky than Comic-Con? Well, Salt Lake City had our first Comic-Con just last fall, and it was such a huge success that this year we're having two. We're having Comic-Con, which will be in September, and we're having the Fan Experience, or the Fan Expo, which is just this coming week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's going to have a lot of celebrities. That's what it's focused on. So you have a lot of stars from Star Trek, from sci-fi, from different genre and comic book movies are all going to be here, and it's going to be an amazing event. Well, we had the opportunity to sit down with Dan Farr, who is one of the main producers who brought Comic-Con here last year and who is putting on the Fan Expo next week. And he was able to give us a lot of insight into how they put it on and what you can expect at the show. So why don't we find out a little bit about Fan Expo? Now, you guys have actually changed things up a little bit for this year. Obviously, with the success of last year's, everyone knew you were going to do another Comic-Con. Yes. But you guys are actually kind of doing two. You're doing a Comic-Con again in September, and you're doing a Fan Expo that's just coming up in a couple of months.
It's a fan experience.
Tell me about that.
Well, part of it is the first thing we tell ourselves, we focus on the fan experience as a mission statement. So that's one of the reasons why we gave it that name. We felt that a city can have 2 solid events a year. At least, maybe more. We'll see. But we thought that if we called it a fan experience rather than just Comic-Con alone, it gives us a little leeway to try some new things, and then if that works, we'll integrate that into our Comic-Con event. But like bringing wrestlers or bringing, put a little more focus on some of the other areas, rather than just comic books. We don't have to, we don't have to say it has to have its roots back in comic books to be able to justify having that. If it has appeal to fan groups or people, then it fits. So.
Well, you guys seem to be, you're going to have some big stars here. You're going to have some of the cast of The Walking Dead, which of course, as everybody knows, is huge right now.
It is. Sure helped last time that we had such a big fan turnout that now the celebrities that are on the circuit to do Comic-Cons, they're actually, when we ask them to come, they've heard from their friends that it's a great show. And so we're not twisting any arms to get them here this time. It's much easier to bring in the celebrities. We have Adam Baldwin from Firefly, that's a fun one. Kelly Hu from X-Men and Scorpion King and other things. Actually, she was also on Arrow recently. And several others. In fact, kind of going beyond the Comic-Con brand, we have Mickey Dolenz, who was one of the Monkees.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of a fun, try something new.
So what can we expect in the fall? What kind of changes are you guys going to make to Comic-Con? Is it going to be bigger? Just kind of give us a preview of that.
Well, and that's a good question. We actually, last time, I think most people that attended the event realized that, especially on Saturday, the fire marshal had closed it off, said no more people getting in, and there was thousands of fans that weren't able to get into the event. So we've actually for the FanX and for the Fall Comic-Con, we actually have the full convention center hall. And so before we had about 40% of it. Now we've expanded. We're up to, I think, over 500,000 square feet of exhibit space area. I actually got sucked into the energy. It's almost like you walk in and there's just this amazing vortex of positive energy. I mean, you get so excited to see the different geek-related products and the celebrities and everything. And when I saw that, I thought, well, why don't we have something like that here in Salt Lake? And that's what kind of was the impetus behind trying to bring something here. So just to give an idea, San Diego Comic-Con has 100,000 more square feet in that convention center than what we have here. So it's actually pretty amazing that we're filling, and the vendors, we've had so many vendors come in that we're nearing filling up the show floor with the vendors.
Well, so for people who want to find out more about Salt Lake Comic-Con and about the Fan Expo, how can people do that? What's your website?
SaltLakeComicCon.com.
All right, nice and simple. You guys also have a really good Facebook presence.
Yeah, Facebook and it's Facebook/Salt Lake Comic Con as well.
We'd like to thank Dan Farr for taking the time to sit down with us. And if you'd like more information on Comic-Con, as he said, go to SaltLakeComicCon.com and you can get tickets. And am I the only one who thought that I looked like a big fat purple dude in that interview? No? I look like the guy who hangs out with Ronald McDonald. Anybody know his name?
Grimace.
Grimace. Apparently I look like Grimace. Thank you for that. Well, we've got to take a commercial break. When we come back, we are going to show you film geeks how to break into Hollywood. So keep it here on the Geek Report.
Hasters would be a great place to come in and check it out. We have an open, friendly environment, and we've been around since 1995. When a new customer comes in looking for something, unlike that I'm able to show them Magic the Gathering, which is a card game, comic books, miniature gaming, dice, statues, anything that's related with sci-fi, fantasy, or board game. And I'll hear back from them later on how fun of a game it was. I think they'll find something in here, one way or another. Haster Games and Comics. We're located on State Street in Midvale. Haster has it.
Can't get enough of the outdoor excitement you can only find here in the West? Well, look no further than At Your Leisure. No matter how you like to recreate, no matter where you like to go, no matter what flavor of adventure you crave, you'll find it on AYL. Saturday nights at 10:30 and Sunday mornings at 9 on ABC4 Utah.
Owning a home is one of the biggest investments you can make. Rates are at historic lows, and now could be the right time to think about buying a home to call your own. Shauna Judd, with full-service mortgage lender Axiom Financial, will help you by providing a wide variety of loan products to meet your needs. Come in and meet with Shauna, and she'll get you pre-qualified in 10 minutes. Mortgage specialist Shauna Judd. Call her at 801-604-2227 or email at shauna@axiomfinancial.com.
Welcome back to the Geek Report, everybody, the show about everything geek. And there is one section of geek that we haven't talked a lot about, and that is film. Not just going to see movies, but actually participating and making your own films. Everybody's got cell phones nowadays and are filming all kinds of things and just making stories up, and that's what our story is about right now. There's actually an international competition called the 48-Hour Film Project that we are going to show you the details on, so that if you actually want to break into Hollywood and make a professional film, you're going to be able to. Here's Andrew Swanevelt with the story.
Many a geek wants to have their movie shown on the big screen, dark theater, smell of popcorn in the air, but how do you compete with the likes of Steven Spielberg or Christopher Nolan, even James Cameron? Well, you can start right here at the 48-Hour Film Project.
The 48-Hour Film Project is a really fun opportunity for filmmakers throughout the world in select cities to make a movie in 48 hours. They have to pull everything together, everything from the script, the story, all of that has to happen in 48 hours, of course, editing, and then it all has to be turned in, and then we see who wins.
You know, it's really about giving people the opportunity to make something, and the beauty of it is you make a film, you don't have a film on the Friday night, and then you do have a film on the Sunday, and then you're watching it in the theater on Wednesday, the week after.
The 48-Hour Film Project began in 2001 in Washington, D.C. with the mission of promoting filmmakers and advancing the art of local filmmaking. Over the course of the last 13 years, the event has grown to international levels, with competitions now held in cities from New York to Rome and everywhere in between. Basically what happens is a filmmaking team shows up on Friday night of the competition. They pull their genre out of a hat, be it horror, sci-fi, drama, whatever. They're then given a line of dialogue and a prop they have to use somewhere in their movie, and then they're sent on their merry way to start writing and filming. Not one aspect of the film can be worked on in advance, and 48 hours later they have to turn in their completed film ready to be screened and judged. Once the judging is complete, films are awarded accolades for things like screenwriting, cinematography, best use of genre, and, of course, best picture overall. The winning film from each individual city then goes on to the International 48-Hour Film Project, where it faces even harsher competition. Actor and producer Joe Davis has been participating in 48-hour films for years. He's found the experience is about far more than just playing a part.
The most recent film that we did together, we were out at the Wendover Airport, a barren place with really nothing else going on except our filming. And it was kind of neat to have the nostalgia of that place with my friends, having lunch on the tarmac.
Just because it's a quick turnaround doesn't mean the teams involved are any less ambitious than their studio counterparts. Professional makeup artists lend their talents to the competition. Special effects crews add layers of fantasy with explosions and laser cannons that transport audiences oftentimes as effectively as any Hollywood production. In fact, the only real difference between a 48-hour film and your standard matinee fare is in its scale. Sure, with only 2 days to produce and a usually small team of inexperienced filmmakers, you're not going to get Lawrence of Arabia, but the love of cinema is apparent in every frame that hits the screen. And as the teams progress, you're often treated with heartfelt, dramatic, and many times hilarious films that few would believe were produced, written, shot, and edited all over one fast-paced weekend.
You really just have to consider what you do with your phone every day. You take videos of your friends, you do videos of your family. Think about that and just add a script to it. It's a lot of fun, and you've got a lot more recognition. These are typically shown on a big screen in a theater. If you've ever wanted to see yourself in the largest format possible, this is your opportunity.
It's just wonderful, the joy that I can create and the joy that these festivals create. There's nothing better than being in the packed theater, with a round of applause and giving out awards. Even the awards are just little silly things, but just seeing the smiles on people's faces, it's just really warms my heart. So.
To be your own Steven Spielberg, just go to 48hourfilm.com. They'll have details there, all the information. You can sign up for a city near you. For the Geek Report, I'm Andrew Swanevelt. Back to you, Steve.
Well, the 48-Hour Film Project is a lot of fun to participate in, whether you're making your own film or you're just acting in one. And I've actually been involved before. As you can see, it is the one time in my life when I had a porn stash. Look at that bad boy. You look up sexy in the dictionary, you're going to see that photo. Heck yeah. Well, the 48-Hour Film Project in Salt Lake is taking place May 30th through June 1st, and you can sign up at 48hourfilm.com/Salt Lake City. So if you want to make your own film or you just want to act, they'll tell you about the teams, and you can get involved really, really easily. Just go to that website. Well, we got to take a commercial break. When we come back, we are going to have this week's video game review of Wartune, find out whether it's worth your time here on the Geek Report.
Is it time for you to get your own place? At Exit Realty Plus, we can help you do just that. We have 25 agents ready to help you at a moment's notice. We're a small office with a lot of experience, and we're here to help you open the door to your new home. We're at 948 East North Union Avenue in Midvale. Call us at 801-506-3110. Exit Realty Plus, helping you find the home of your dreams.
Welcome to the Geek Report. I'm Stephen Heumann. This is your spot for all geek news from tech to comic books and everything in between.
The news you really want to hear. The Geek Report. Real news for geeks. Saturday afternoons at 3:30 on CW30.
Owning a home is one of the biggest investments you can make. Rates are at historic lows, and now could be the right time to think about buying a home to call your own. Shauna Judd, with full-service mortgage lender Axiom Financial, will help you by providing a wide variety of loan products to meet your needs. Come in and meet with Shauna, and she'll get you pre-qualified in 10 minutes. Mortgage specialist Shauna Judd. Call her at 801-604-2227 or email at shauna@axiomfinancial.com.
Dr. Volt's Comics is a full-service comic book shop. We've been here for 24 years now. We offer pretty much everything that you could ever want as a geek, starting with a freehold service. It allows you to have anything pulled aside for you, and then you don't have to worry about missing anything. I love that there's just such a wide range of stories and art and ideas that no matter what mood you're in or what you're looking for, there's always something to find. Come on down to Dr. Volt's. We will treat you like friends and family and help you as best we can.
Welcome back to the Geek Report, everybody. This has been a lot of fun for our first episode. I hope you're all enjoying it. Well, we're coming to the end of our show, but at the end of our show, we always have a review, whether it's a movie review or a game review or something along those lines. Well, today we have a game review. We're here with Kira Booth, our own video game reporter. She's actually a video game designer, so I'll give her a hand. And you have a review of us of the game Wartune. So what do you think of this game?
So Wartune is a MMORPG, which stands for Massively Multiplayer Online Role-Playing Game.
That's so basically like a Warcraft, World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Okay.
World of Warcraft is a really popular MMORPG. Wartune is not quite there, and I don't think it's
not a popular one.
Going to get there. I have hope for them. They are releasing regular updates, which is always a good sign, which means that it still has potential to get better. But it's a browser-based one, so you can log in on any computer, and it's also an app on Facebook. Usually when you think of MMORPGs, you're thinking of males 18 to 25, and the people who are playing the games on Facebook, like Mafia Wars or Farmville, are actually women over 40. The plot is very stereotypical. You play as the hero, which is great because who doesn't want to be the hero? But immediately right off the bat, you're wandering through the forest and you come across a damsel in distress. And the damsel in distress looks suspiciously like Sailor Moon.
We should show a picture of Sailor Moon right now.
If you put them side by side, it's actually like they took that and then made her less anime, more like in the style.
So the proportions.
Yeah.
I'm picturing it right now. Okay.
And then she conveniently no longer has a ruler for her kingdom. And so she asks if you want to be the ruler, since you're obviously such a great warrior.
Because that happens all the time.
So
I'm the ruler of my own country.
So you immediately inherit a kingdom and you start building it up. And from there, it's basically a sort of choose your own adventure.
So what are the pros and cons of the game then?
The dialogue is terrible. The dialogue sounds like a whole bunch of 18-year-old boys talking to each other about what they wish the girl across the classroom would say to them. And so that's totally what it was.
We love you though. We do.
That's totally what it was, but I've got to warn you, 18-year-old nerds, when you when you talk to a girl, she's not going to be like, "Oh, please, be my everything" immediately. So just that's kind of how it's definitely that fantasy.
That's why you create the game.
There are a lot of things that glow and sparkle that you can't click on, and things should be clickable. Players want to click on everything. All the things should be clickable.
Especially when your protagonist looks like Sailor Moon. You want to click? Am I right? Want to click on it?
That actually reminds me of another game. So we're going to talk about that.
We're going to review that game next week, apparently. Okay, so what were the pros? What did you like about it?
So the artwork for the character portraits were really well done. Their artist did a really good job with them. And while I had a lot of issues, technical issues with the game and the dialogue, but I set out playing this game at night and I'm like, midnight, I'm quitting, I'm going to bed. And I found myself playing until about 2 in the morning. So that's kind of the goal as a game designer, is you want people to lose time in the game. Overall, I would give the grade a C. Ultimately, I did end up playing it still, like I didn't want to quit immedately. So it can't get a failing grade, so it's got to pass.
All right, so it passes. There you go. Kira, thank you so much for coming on. Let's give her a big round of applause, everybody, our studio audience. Well, it's about time to wrap up the show, everybody. We do have some special things for our audience, though. I want to show you off here. This is our Geek Revenger right here. And everyone in our studio audience is walking away with one of these today, signed by the entire crew. So thank you guys for coming. Every week we do film here in front of a live studio audience, and if you want to become a member of our audience, you can go to our Facebook page or to our website, and you'll be able to get tickets, and you'll come down and just have a really fun time with us. So become a fan on Facebook and go to our website, thegeekreport.tv, and you can find out all the information you want. Well, it's time to wrap up. I hope everybody had a good time on our first episode of the Geek Report. I know that I did. This is awesome. This is really exciting. We'd like to thank Rusted Robot Productions for producing and creating our title sequence, that really awesome 3D animation you saw at the beginning of the show. They are an amazing company. Check them out at rustedrobotworks.com. They are awesome. Well, remember, we'll see you here next week, and everyone is a geek about something. See ya.